All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Anand Oswal. I'm a Vice President of Engineering at Cisco. At Cisco, my group is responsible for building products that we call Connect the Unconnected. Through a portfolio of products, enterprise and IT platforms, software platforms, and solutions. Now, innovation is very crucial in everything that we do. In fact, the key value proposition of the solutions for our customers is to allow them to innovate in the rapidly changing environment. The pace of change, as we all know, is changing everything. Companies that are not able to innovate are left behind, with companies with newer business models that are able to survive and thrive in the volatile environment. Just take a look at Amazon. First in bookstores, then in retail, and now in IT. Disruption after disruption, leading to an 850% growth in revenue in just 8 years. Look at Uber. Now, many of us think of Uber as a company trying to change the taxi industry. But if you talk to anybody in Uber, they call themselves more as a technology company, not as a taxi company. If you look at how Spotify and Pandora have changed the music industry, today over 50 million subscribers, taking on digital giants like Apple iTunes. How Square has disrupted the point of sale system. Again, not fundamentally offering anything new, but using IT, innovation, and simplicity to create a much better user experience. And so on and so forth. Airbnb in the hotel industry, what Google and Facebook did to the print advertising industry, what Tesla is trying to do in the car industry, and now in energy. So what are the changes that are driving these digital disruptions? Social, mobile, data, and cloud. Social, allowing customers to connect with the businesses in more meaningful and valuable ways, allowing businesses to create more meaningful dialogues with the customer. Mobile, allowing the workforce to access the work from any place, at any time, and from any device, thus creating a very flexible working force. Data, and we heard about data in the earlier talk, allowing businesses to take data from multiple disparate sources, analyze and mine this data in real time, create action that affect business processes and outcomes. And cloud, allowing businesses to connect to IT resources with much more agility and a cost-reduced manner. Now, each of these are innovative and disruptive on their own. But when combined together, are creating a tsunami, revolutionizing businesses, and creating a profound impact on society. In 1876, America was 100 years old, and at the Philadelphia Exposition Center, America held its first World Fair. It was done to mark the 100th birth anniversary of the nation. But it heralded the future as much as it celebrated the past. Now, 1876 was not when the Industrial Revolution started, but it was a time of coming to fruition, a point of critical mass. It was the nexus, advanced steam technology, mass production, railroads, and telegraphy. It created a profound impact on society, socially, economically, and culturally. The world was never the same again. In many ways, the Internet of Everything in 2015 is very similar to that of 1876. More than 99% of the devices are still not connected. As we connect these devices, and with the rate of change accelerating at a pace we've never seen before. Today, stable wireless platforms, well-defined software interface components, and the availability of cheap and reliable sensors is making it possible to connect anything from cars to coffee pots. And not just making it virtually possible, but making it certain. Open source hardware and software are allowing programmatic software interfaces to integrate with complex systems, locomotives, and weather stations. Complex delivery systems, whether we count as sewage systems, water delivery systems, big manufacturing plants, buildings, are benefiting from this software and sensor packages, making them more efficient, allowing centralized control and greater efficiency. Now, whenever we talk of big revolutions, we always talk about the impact it creates on society, the value it generates, and what it does to mankind. So let's look at hypothetically, what if we have a 1% improvement? Now, a 1% improvement for exploration in the oil and gas industry will lead to an estimated value of $90 billion over 15 years. A 1% improvement in fuel savings in commercial aviation leads to a $30 billion value created. And similarly, in other industries, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, smart cities, and government. The value created is enormous with just a 1% improvement. The question to ask ourselves is, what if this is 5? What if it is 10? What if it's 100, 200%? Amazing things can happen. Today, more and more people are connected online. Technology is now powering majority of the business processes. The world generated more data last year than in the 5,000 years that preceded it. More and more things are coming online. We expect 50 billion new things to be connected by 2020. We call this the Internet of Everything. When people, process, data, and things connect, amazing things happen. And it's already changing everything. Today, we are able to tell our homes when to turn on and off the lights remotely. We're able to control the temperature while we are at work or outside. Doctors are able to have much more meaningful discussions with their patients about their health and their care-abouts. Businesses are able to connect with the customers in more meaningful ways, more valuable ways, creating more personalized services. But this is today, and tomorrow is yet to come. Tomorrow we shall envision pill bottles self-reordering themselves, smart cards taking care of you at the checkout lane, crops telling the farmer when they are ready to be harvested, power stations having the ability to adjust the production dynamically to meet the load. Traffic may be more seamless as driverless cars become more of a commonplace. We'll be able to track air and water pollution at unprecedented levels. Buildings will not only be able to adjust the consumption of power to be efficient and meet demand, but also be able to dictate how much of that energy is from sustainable energy sources. Now, different businesses and different customers are at different parts in the IoE journey. Some are bringing new things online, embracing what we call the Internet of Things. Some are utilizing technology trends, mobile, social, data, cloud, collaboration to create new business value. While some are already there, interconnecting market trends, making connections with people, process, data, and things to create new experiences, generating new value. Now, when we talk of IoE, it's very important for us to understand the types of connections we have and the value it's generated. The first, what we call as a machine-to-machine connection. This is when devices talk to other devices and vice versa. Whether it's an endpoint, a machine, a sensor, a robot, or whatever it may be. We call this a machine-to-machine connection, commonly referred to as the Internet of Things. Next, machine-to-person connection. This is when machine talks to a person and vice versa. When we extract the data and analyze it, that is an M2P connection. This market is commonly referred to as data and analytics. And last, a person-to-person connection, whether on the mobile device, through video, or social media. We call this collaboration. Now, each of these connections generates tremendous amount of value on its own. But maximum value gets generated at the intersection of these connections. Next, I'm going to walk you through a few examples. These are real-world examples that have been deployed by large corporations, which show the value of these connections. Let's take the mining industry. Now, mining as an industry has not really changed in decades, probably in centuries. Every day, hundreds of miners suit up, go underground, are there for up to 8 to 10 hours, come back, write a physical report, give it to the supervisor, who will analyze that data. We may have the next set of miners go immediately after that, or these miners go the next day. Working with one of the largest mining companies in the world, in Cisco, the challenge was very simple. How do I improve mining production without adding additional miners and increasing costs? And how do I get improved safety? We use a combination of M2M and P2P connections, Wi-Fi and sensors on all mining equipment and the miners themselves. Real-time collaboration between the miners and the experts, and the supervisors. The results are staggering. A 400% improvement in mining production, 400%, in an industry that has not fundamentally changed in decades. And most important, an improved safety for the miners. Let's now talk of manufacturing, a tire company. The second largest tire company in the world had a big problem. Large number of tire components on their plant floor were getting wasted and misplaced. This resulted in reduced tire production and output and a lot of wastage. The solution used Wi-Fi and sensors to track all the parts on the plant floor. The results, in a short period of time, in over 3 months, a 13% improvement in the production of tires and a 20% reduction in wastage components. Let's now talk about IoE in the retail sector. We all get a lot of advertisements from retailers, whether it's your favorite Macy's, Targets, or whatever it may be in the mail. And majority of the time, 92% of the times, it goes from your mailbox to the trash can. This one-size-fits marketing is not really working all the time. Today, with Cisco's connected mobile experience, we're able to have businesses connect with the end user in more meaningful ways. The strategy is simple. First, we detect, then we connect, and then we engage. We're able to have more micro-targeted, real-time, location and context-aware engagement with the user. We're able to predict and tell the retailer how many consumers are in a store, how long of time they spent in a store, what is the correlation between the time spent and the wallet spent. We're able to tell the retailers or the malls which are the busiest hours, which aisles are more busy, where should they put their billboards and advertisements, enabling them to create and generate much more value. Now, a common problem at retailers we always see is checkout. Now, we've all been standing at checkout lines sometimes for 30, 40 minutes. And the reason is because if you talk to any of the big retailers, the way they staff the number of people at the checkout is based on 3 factors: the time of the day of the week, and the month of the year, the season, long weekend, or any of those things. And they always have many people in the store, some who work in front at the checkout line, and others helping in the back door, whether it's inventory management, packaging, whatever. Connecting the mobile and social data we get from CMX, we're able to dynamically adjust the working force in a store. Able to move people from the counters to the back, or people helping in packing come in the front to help on a dynamic basis, creating a much better experience for both the businesses and also users. Because a lot of times, if you see long lines, you walk away, and you may not come again. So we talked about examples in mining, manufacturing, retail, but this sort of innovation and change is happening in every industry. Whether it's transportation or smart cities like we heard earlier, retail or healthcare, is changing and revolutionizing the businesses, creating additional value. Next, I would like to touch a little bit about the key challenges and potential solutions when it comes to IoE. As we embark on the journey of IoE, I talk of three sectors, and I completely agree with the presenter before that smart cities is one of the largest opportunities for IoE. I listed three here, which I believe are three verticals that have the biggest value that we can generate from: manufacturing, transportation, and smart cities. And if you ask the line of business owner or the CEOs of these verticals, what keeps you up at night, you'll get a pretty similar answer from them: regulatory compliance, operational efficiency, and how do you get new sources of revenue. Now, as we embark on the journey of IoE, there are many challenges that we have. I list 5 here that I believe are very critical for us. First, a converged managed network, operations and resilience at scale, security, distributed intelligence, and application enablement. Now, I can spend an hour on each of these topics, but given the time limits that we have, I'll touch very briefly on these and spend a little bit more time on distributed intelligence, which comes at the intersection of IoT and big data. As we bring more and more things online, disparate systems, machines, proprietary protocols, it's critical for us to ensure we bring them up in a structured, architectural way. Today, we have multiple networks in any big vertical. We have an IT network, which runs over IP predominantly today, and we have an OT network, which today is closed, proprietary, and some of it running protocols which were generated 30 and 40 years ago. Whether it's for passenger safety, telemetry, video cameras, or even Wi-Fi in many cases. These multiple networks, the IT and the OT network, are starting to converge. And as they converge over IP, it's very critical that we ensure seamless migration. Now, this transition is not something that will happen in a day, a month, or a year. These systems have been operational for decades. The protocols that have been used have been around for a long time, whether it's Modbus, Profibus, or any of those. In many ways, this is very similar to the transition the industry did in the mid-90s when we migrated IBM SNA protocols to TCP/IP. We're still migrating them even today. It's a long journey. Next, operations and resilience at scale. When we talk of IoT and IoE, we talk about tens of thousands of network devices. We talk of millions of endpoints, sensors, machines. The scale is humongous. Now, when you look at the large scale, it's not practical, feasible, or desirable to really configure each one of these manually, whether the network element or the sensor themselves. Management becomes the biggest nightmare. This is where we talk about the 4-layered enterprise model for architecture. At the bottom of it, we have the endpoints and the sensors, whether it's your PC, your robot, your data center workload, or your communication endpoint. Then we talk of the network elements, whether it's your hardened router, switch, server, compute, or storage. And then we talk of the controller layer, which I talk of as the heart of the system, brain of the system. And then the applications on top of it, applications like collaboration, security, and so on and so forth. These applications will program at higher business level of intent. So things like, if a security breach occurs, shut down so-and-so network, divert traffic to so-and-so things, and so on and so forth. These operate at a higher policy level constructs. The controller layer abstracts and hides this complexity and programs the elements and the sensors. Visibility is going to be very important. Self-managed, self-healing networks, highly available and fully automated networks is the key for success. Next, security. Now, security is on top of mind for everybody. The CIO, the CEO, it's very critical. As we bring more things online, we're actually making the problem more complex, because the attack surface for security is now much bigger. We have more and more things online, different protocols, and coupled with that, we have big challenges for regulatory and compliance. It's very critical that data for certain countries stays in that country. Privacy is going to be a top concern as well. So these are issues that we will need to tackle in the industry. Next, distributed intelligence. I mentioned earlier, 99% of the things are still not connected. Connecting the right things, processing the right data, and understanding what actions to take on that data that affect business processes and business outcomes is going to be extremely critical. The world generates 2,000 exabytes of data a day, in a day. Now, most of this data is going to be useless if we don't act upon it within a given set of time. It has a small shelf life. And a lot of the times, it's not about data. It's about the intelligence of the data. So taking this data from multiple disparate sources, analyzing and mining it in real time, creating action for business processes to enable new business outcomes will be critical. We are seeing the collision of two big worlds. At one point, we see 50 billion devices going to come online. Each of these will generate tremendous amount of data. And it's not about the transport of data, but about the intelligence of the data. This data will come from multiple sources. How do we analyze and mine it at the right time in a distributed fashion to make sure we have the right effects? Now, if you look at distributed computing, traditionally, you look at a client-server model, whether it's mainframe, client-server, or the web. But there's a problem in this model when it comes to IoT. If you look at web apps and IoT, there are fundamental differences. Web apps, for the most part, assume ample bandwidth. IoT will be bandwidth constrained. Data is growing at a rate faster than the bandwidth. The latency requirements are different. Web apps assume you're always connected. Sensors are not always on. They may have intermittent connections, some over low-speed links, some over satellites. And the scale for IoT is extremely large, and the risk very high. So what we really need is intelligence at the edge of the network. This is what we refer to as fog computing. So we can create low latency responsiveness to the action for the data that we analyzed, get high resiliency and security. Well, the key point I wanted to make here is that data is growing at a rate faster than the bandwidth. It's not going to be possible to transport all the data that the sensors receive upstream. It needs to be analyzed at the edge. Let's take a real example. We're working with one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. And they had a problem where they were using the hardened routers that we have, the 819, to sense the pressure ratings for various pressure valves they have. Now, each of these sensors generates a tremendous amount of data. But we provided them with a system where you can set high-level global policy constructs. I want to monitor a range of pressure in so-and-so numbers. And as you get the readings on the router, we have an analytics engine that runs, a very thin engine that runs on the hardened network device itself, analyzes that to ensure it knows what range is looking for. And this can be changed dynamically on the fly. And only when data exceeds a certain amount of range is sent upstream for action, like shutting the valve or something else. This results in a 1000x reduction in data being sent, and also being very intelligent about what data you send at what time, for what action. Last, I'd like to touch through accelerating IoE through application enablement. Now, this is, along with distributed intelligence, I feel is the two key things that will make the success of IoE. An immense diversity of required apps, for which we need an open ecosystem, a compute environment, and storage running on the hardened platforms. Let's take a real example again, since it becomes easier to explain with an example. Earlier last month, I visited one of the largest building construction makers in the Bay Area, constructing the next generation offices that they have, the modern workspace. They call it the IoT carpeted space. They're going to have LED lights in the whole building, going to be powered over Ethernet, not by a regular voltage. And each of these LED lights that we get from manufacturer partners run a protocol, co-op in this case. Now you need a client version of that protocol, that application, to run on the hardened switch or network device to be enabled the lights to be controlled, brightness, how long it should be on, color of the light, etc. So there's a huge need for having multiple of these applications, third-party applications that can run on an open computing environment with the right APIs and the SDK. That's what Cisco's IOX solution will provide. Next, I think the earlier speaker did a very good talk about telling us what we need to do to benefit, to accelerate IoE, the impact it has on cities and governments. But a team effort is required to build an IoE ecosystem. Will require partnerships across the public and private sectors, corporations, startups, academia, and individual people. The way Cisco approached it is that, I talked earlier about some of the products and solutions that we have at Cisco, the platforms, the software platforms, and the solutions. But Cisco's commitment to IoT and IoE goes much more beyond that. Cisco was the host of the IoT World Forum, the first one held in Barcelona. 800 experts and corporations across the globe attended that, invitation only, to discuss solutions and challenges in various verticals. We had the follow-on in Barcelona and the next one in Dubai of this year. Even though it's in its infancy, standards development is going to be a critical factor to ensure we have an open ecosystem. So with that, we define the right standards for IoT systems, sensors, devices, and the applications that run on top of it. Cisco also announced a $250 million fund for venture for investment in startups and venture capital accelerators. It is our firm belief that the next disruptive technologies and innovations are happening in these startups. They will cause the change that we're looking for. And last, working with a large global partner ecosystem. It's very imperative that we have the right partners in the right verticals, whether it's Schneider, Rockwell, Emerson, and others. Experts in that verticals will be critical for us. Let me talk a little bit more about the investment fund and the innovation centers that we have as well. The Cisco Entrepreneurship and Residence Program was launched last year. We had our first cohort in spring, 6 startups, and we have 11 that we are working with now in US and Europe. The goal is very simple. We want to build a strategic software relationship with software startups in the area of IoE, smart cities, big data, and analytics. Cisco itself is going through a transformation, as many of you know. As we go more and more on business outcomes and larger investment in software, we believe that offerings from these startups, along with offerings from our partners, will accelerate our innovation. So how do you get into this? It's a rigorous process. We accepted about 2% of all applicants in the 2 cohorts we had. We're looking for startups which have just received Series A funding or have seed and angel funding, have their first market-ready product, and the first customer. That's where Cisco and its partners can come to accelerate the go-to-market and technology development. The Cisco Innovation Centers. We have 7 that are already in operation or going to be in operation very soon. These are open innovation centers where we want to co-innovate with partners, customers, startups, academia, and research institutions. We believe an open ecosystem is extremely critical for us to accelerate the deployment of IoE. Whether it's internships for students or funding for startups and small corporations, helping them work with Cisco's go-to-market and sales to create much better vertical solutions, or investing in universities and academic research labs to help accelerate IoE even further. We are doing all of that with Cisco's Innovation Center. So folks, I'm running out of time. So in summary, just want to talk about a few things we talked about. I talked about IoT and IoE, the immense economic and social impact it can create. Talked about the 5 key challenges that I feel are very critical for us to ensure it's successful for us in IoE. This is the focus of large number of startups and companies as well. And last, talked about what we can do to make IoE real. Cross open ecosystem and partnerships across the board. The opportunity is immense. The path is well laid out. I'll leave you with a quote from a famous French poet, Victor Hugo. Nothing is more important and more critical than an idea whose time has come. I truly believe that this is the time to take IoE to the next level. Thank you.
Perfect. You have been a good speaker, saving time. So we have time for about 3 questions at least. Please come to the microphone.
Wondering if you can.
Yeah.
So, wondering if you can elaborate on what you mean by innovative solutions around security.
Repeat the question.
Yeah. So the question is, what do you mean by innovative solutions for security? So, like I told earlier, like when we get more and more devices online, the attack surface for security is increasing at an amazing pace. So if you look at it, the network itself is a sensor. We get information from variety of different sources. Today we get information from access points, location information from different places. We get information from net flow and information from controllers and switches. The ability for us to correlate all this information and solve bigger problems, predictive security solutions for threat grid is going to be what I was talking about. Hi.
You talked about some use cases, right? Are these repeatable solutions that Cisco has built, or are they customer engagements?
Yeah. So the question is that I talked about some solutions that some customers are using. Are these repeatable solutions? Yes, they are repeatable solutions. There may be some customization that either the customer or the system integrator may need to do to fit into the customer's environments, but for the most part, it's repeatable.
And how big is this business actually? IoE business.
The size of business for the verticals, each vertical is different. If you just look at the analytics business itself, today it could be over $1 billion. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Yes, last.
Go ahead.
One question. I see that you have addressed a lot of the different verticals. The agricultural I missed in your list. Is that done?
Yeah, agriculture is also part of the vertical that we are looking at. In fact, we have a lot of solutions for farming, and where even we have today sensors on cattle to monitor a lot of things. I talked about sensors that few farmers are using for crops to predict when the crop should be harvested as well.